A new job on a big ship. Jack Walker stood in the middle of the huge spaceport, feeling small and a little nervous. He had never been on a Galactic Council starship before. In fact, most humans never had the chance. Humans were new to space travel, and many alien species saw them as weak or unimportant. But today, Jack was about to start his new job as a janitor on one of the largest ships in the galaxy, the Celestial Voyager. Just clean the floors and don't get in anyone's way, he reminded himself. The Galactic Council was made up of many powerful alien races, each more advanced than humans. Jack wasn't sure why they needed a human janitor on their ship, but it was a job, and he needed the money. As he walked toward the ship's entrance, he noticed all the strange and colorful aliens moving around. Some had multiple arms, others floated in the air without legs, and a few looked like walking plants. Jack felt out of place. He handed his work card to a tall alien guard at the gate. The alien, with green skin and bright yellow eyes, looked him over with a mixture of confusion and mild disgust. "Human?" the guard asked, raising an eyebrow. "You must be the new cleaner. Try not to mess anything up." Jack just nodded. He had learned long ago that aliens didn't think much of humans. They were always looked down upon, and he was used to it by now. Once inside the Celestial Voyager, Jack was in awe. The ship was massive, with long, shiny corridors and high ceilings that seemed to stretch forever. It felt like a city floating in space. The walls glowed with a soft blue light, and strange symbols were written in languages he couldn't understand. He found the small janitor closet that would be his base. It wasn't much, just some cleaning supplies, a mop, and a bucket. Jack smiled to himself. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest work. He started mopping the floors, moving quietly so he wouldn't disturb anyone important. As he worked, he couldn't help but feel the eyes of the aliens on him. Many of them walked by, giving him strange looks. Most of them ignored him, but a few seemed curious. Jack tried not to pay attention. He wasn't here to make friends or cause trouble. After an hour or so, Jack took a break and leaned against the wall. That's when he noticed someone watching him. A tall alien woman with glowing blue skin and silver eyes was standing nearby, looking at him with a smile. She was beautiful in a way Jack couldn't describe, with long, flowing hair and a slim figure. She wore a uniform that showed she was important, probably an officer on the ship. "Hello," she said in a soft, musical voice. "You're the human, right?" Jack felt his heart race. He wasn't used to talking to alien women, especially one as stunning as this. Yeah, that's me," he said, scratching the back of his neck. She smiled wider, stepping a little closer. "I'm Ayla, the communications officer. Welcome to the Celestial Voyager, Jack." Jack blinked in surprise. She already knew his name. First impressions of the alien girls. Jack Walker had been working as a janitor on the Celestial Voyager for just a few days, and already things felt strange. The ship was huge, and the crew was made up of aliens from all over the galaxy. Each day, Jack mopped the shiny floors, cleaned windows, and made sure everything looked perfect. He liked staying busy. It kept his mind off how out of place he felt. One thing he noticed, though, was the way some of the female aliens were acting around him. It started with Ayla, the communications officer. She would always smile at him whenever they crossed paths. At first, Jack thought it was just friendliness. After all, Ayla was one of the few crew members who had actually introduced herself. But then things started getting weird. One day, Jack was cleaning the control room when Ayla entered. She walked up to him, her blue skin glowing softly in the dim light. She stood very close, closer than Jack was comfortable with. "Hi, Jack," Ayla said, her voice sounding a little too sweet. "How's your day going?" Jack blinked, surprised. Most of the time, the other crew members ignored him completely. It's fine," he said, gripping his mop tightly. He wasn't used to talking to such an important officer, especially one as beautiful as Ayla. Ayla tilted her head, her silver eyes locking onto his. "You know, I've been thinking," she said, stepping even closer. "I don't see many humans around here. You're different. Interesting." Jack's heart raced. He didn't know what to say. "Aw, thanks, I guess," he muttered, trying to step back a little. But Ayla didn't seem to mind the awkward silence. She kept smiling at him, almost like she was studying him. Jack quickly finished his work and left the room, his face feeling hot. He couldn't shake the feeling that something odd was going on. Was she flirting with him? That couldn't be right. She was an important officer, and he was just a janitor. Maybe he was imagining things. The next day, things got even stranger. Jack was cleaning one of the ship's hallways when another alien woman approached him. This one was taller than Ayla, with dark purple skin and long, sharp horns on her head. She looked like a warrior, tough and strong. Her name was Vrexia, and she was part of the ship's security team. She walked up to him without saying a word and stood there, staring at him. Jack froze, wondering if he had done something wrong. "Human," Vrexia said in a deep voice, her yellow eyes narrowing. "You smell different." Jack blinked. "Excuse me?" Vrexia leaned closer, sniffing the air. "It's strange, but not bad." Jack didn't know how to respond to that. Thanks," he said, stepping back a little. Why were these alien women acting so strange around him? As Vrexia walked away, Jack realized something. It wasn't just Ayla. It seemed like many of the female crew members were paying extra attention to him. For some reason, he was attracting a lot more interest than he was used to, and it was starting to make him nervous. The alien warrior is interested. Jack Walker had finally started getting used to life on the celestial Voyager. He thought his job as a janitor would be simple: clean the floors, avoid trouble, and stay out of everyone's way. But things weren't going as he expected. The alien women on the ship were paying more attention to him than he ever imagined. At first it was just Ayla, the communications officer, with her glowing blue skin and flirty smiles. Then other female crew members started acting strange around him too. But none of them made Jack as nervous as Vrexia. Vrexia was not like the other aliens. She was a warrior from the Torvar species, known for their strength and combat skills. Standing over 6 feet tall, with dark purple skin and sharp horns on her head, Vrexia looked like she could crush someone with her bare hands. Her muscles were as hard as steel, and she didn't seem like the type to smile or laugh. So when Jack saw her coming towards him one day, his heart started pounding in his chest. He was mopping the floors near the ship's training room, trying to stay focused on his work. But he couldn't help but notice Vrexia watching him from across the hall. She was in the middle of her daily combat training, slashing at a holographic enemy with a sword as big as Jack's arm. Suddenly, she stopped her training and walked straight over to him. "Human," Vrexia said in her deep, serious voice. She didn't waste time with greetings. Jack gulped and looked up at her towering figure. Hey," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. Vrexia stood there for a moment, her yellow eyes studying him. She crossed her arms, her muscles bulging beneath her armor. "You are different from the others." Jack blinked, not sure what to say. He had heard this before, from Ayla and a few others, but coming from Vrexia, it felt more intense. Different how? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she stepped closer, towering over him. Jack felt like he was shrinking under her gaze. She tilted her head slightly, as if trying to figure him out. "You are small," she finally said, "but not weak." "I can see that." Jack was too shocked to reply. Him, strong. No one had ever said that to him before, especially not a powerful warrior like Vrexia. He glanced at his mop and bucket, feeling ridiculous. Thanks," he muttered. Vrexia continued staring at him, as if she saw something in him that even he didn't see. "I have never met a human before," she said, "but you are interesting. I will watch you closely." Jack's eyes widened. "Watch me? Why?" Vrexia didn't answer. She simply turned around and walked back to her training. Jack stood there, his heart racing, unsure of what had just happened. As Vrexia went back to slashing her holographic enemy, Jack couldn't help but feel a strange mix of fear and curiosity. The toughest, most dangerous alien on the ship had just taken a special interest in him, and that made him even more nervous than before. The final battle and Jack's new role. Life on the Celestial Voyager had finally settled down. Jack Walker felt a sense of relief after bringing Ayla and Vrexia together. They had agreed to stop the rivalry and work as a team, and the crew seemed to be returning to normal. But just as things looked brighter, a new threat emerged from the depths of space. One day, an alarm blared throughout the ship. Red lights flashed in every corridor, and an urgent voice came over the intercom. All crew members report to your battle stations. We are under attack. Jack's heart raced. He had heard stories about space battles, but never imagined he would experience one. He rushed to find Captain Relcor, who was already preparing the crew for action. "Jack," the captain shouted as he saw him, "we need everyone on deck. You should stay back in the safe zone, but I could use your help in the command center. We need to coordinate our response." "Me?" Jack exclaimed, feeling surprised. "I'm just a janitor." Relcor shook his head. "You are part of this crew now. Your ability to communicate with both sides is crucial. If you can help me keep everyone calm, it will make a difference." Jack nodded, determination flooding through him. He followed the captain to the command center, where alarms blared and crew members rushed around. Ayla and Vrexia were already there, working together to prepare for battle. "Jack," Ayla called, her eyes bright with adrenaline. "We need to figure out how to defend the ship. Can you help?" Jack took a deep breath, trying to stay focused. "Yes, let's find out what we're up against." Vrexia pointed at the main screen, where an image of an enemy ship flickered. "This is a Zykan warship. They are known for their advanced weaponry and combat skills. We must be ready to fight back." The crew began brainstorming strategies, and Jack felt a spark of inspiration. "What if we use the ship's maneuverability to outsmart them?" he suggested. "We can dodge their attacks and get into a better position." Relcor nodded. "That's a good idea, Jack. We can use our speed to our advantage." As the crew worked together, the enemy ship fired its weapons, shaking the Celestial Voyager. Jack felt the impact but knew they had to stay focused. The crew launched their counterattack, and the battle began. Jack watched as Ayla and Vrexia coordinated their efforts, each using their skills to help the ship. He felt a rush of pride knowing he had played a part in bringing them together. They were fighting as a team now, united in a common goal. "Jack," Ayla shouted, "we need you to relay messages to the crew. Keep everyone informed about what's happening." Jack nodded, feeling empowered. He started sending messages over the intercom, helping to direct the crew and keep everyone calm. He was no longer just a janitor. He was a vital part of the team. As the battle raged on, the Celestial Voyager managed to outmaneuver the enemy ship, and after a tense struggle, they successfully drove the Zykans away. The crew cheered, and Jack felt a wave of relief wash over him. Once the danger had passed, Captain Relcor turned to Jack, pride shining in his eyes. "You did well today. You have proven yourself as more than just a janitor. You are now a valued member of this crew." Jack smiled, feeling a sense of belonging. He had faced challenges he never thought he could handle and emerged stronger. The Celestial Voyager was not just a ship, it was home, and he was ready for whatever adventures lay ahead. Jack takes action. Jack Walker couldn't take it anymore. The divisions on the Celestial Voyager had reached a breaking point. The constant fighting between Ayla and Vrexia had made life on the ship unbearable. He felt trapped in the middle of a conflict he never wanted to start. Jack had always been a simple janitor, and now he was at the center of an alien rivalry. It was time to take action. One evening, after a long day of cleaning, Jack gathered his courage. He knew he had to confront both Ayla and Vrexia together. He hoped that if they could talk it out, the conflict might finally end. Taking a deep breath, he headed to the recreation room, where he knew Ayla often spent her free time. As he entered, he found Ayla sitting with a few of her friends, laughing and joking. She looked up and smiled when she saw him. "Jack, come join us." Jack hesitated but then shook his head. "Ayla, I need to talk to you and Vrexia. It's important." Ayla's smile faded. "What's wrong?" "I think you need to hear what I have to say first." Jack looked around the room. "Can you call Vrexia? It's about the fighting." Ayla frowned, but nodded. "Fine, I'll get her." A few minutes later, Vrexia entered the room, her expression serious as she crossed her arms. "What do you want, human?" she asked. Jack swallowed hard. "I want to talk about the divisions on the ship. The fighting has gone too far. It's affecting everyone, and I don't want to be the cause of it anymore." Ayla leaned forward. "But Jack, it's just a little competition. It's fun." "It's not fun for everyone," Jack said, raising his voice slightly. "Some crew members are upset and taking sides. This is tearing the ship apart. I didn't ask for any of this. I just want to do my job." Vrexia narrowed her eyes. "What do you want us to do? Just stop being ourselves." "No," Jack said, shaking his head. "I want you to understand that I'm not a prize to be won. I'm just a person trying to work and live my life. I didn't mean to cause all this chaos." There was a moment of silence in the room. Ayla and Vrexia exchanged glances, and Jack could see their expressions softening. Maybe, just maybe, they could find common ground. Ayla sighed. "Okay, Jack. You're right. We've let this go too far. I didn't mean to make it a competition." Vrexia nodded. "Neither did I. I just wanted to show my strength and prove that I could protect you. But I see now that I've been too aggressive." Jack felt a wave of relief wash over him. "I appreciate that. Can we agree to just be friends? There's no need to fight over me." Both women nodded slowly. Ayla smiled softly. "I think we can do that." "Good," Jack said, feeling a sense of weight lift from his shoulders. "Let's work together to keep the ship united. We're all on the same team here." As the tension began to fade, Jack realized that his words had made a difference. Maybe he could help bring peace to the celestial voyager after all. He wasn't just a janitor anymore. He was part of the crew, and he wanted to help everyone get along. Alien girls compete for Jack. Jack Walker had no idea how his life as a janitor on the celestial voyager had become so complicated. What started as a simple cleaning job had turned into something much stranger. Every day, more of the alien girls on the ship were paying attention to him. At first, it was flattering, but now it was starting to get out of control. It all began with Ayla, the beautiful blue-skinned communications officer, who always smiled and flirted with him. Then there was Vrexia, the fierce warrior who had made it clear she was watching him closely. Jack wasn't used to this kind of attention, especially not from powerful alien women. One day, Jack was cleaning the main dining hall when things reached a boiling point. He was wiping down tables when Ayla entered the room. As usual, her silver eyes lit up when she saw him. She floated gracefully across the floor, her glowing blue skin catching the light. "Jack," she said in her soft, melodic voice, "you've been working so hard. You deserve a break. Why don't you sit with me for a while?" Before Jack could respond, Vrexia stormed into the dining hall. Her heavy boots echoed off the floor, and her tall, muscular figure demanded attention. She walked straight up to Ayla, standing just inches away from her. "He's busy," Vrexia said in her deep voice, her yellow eyes narrowing at Ayla. "He doesn't need to sit." Ayla raised an eyebrow and smiled sweetly. "Oh, Vrexia, you don't need to be so serious all the time. Let him relax. It's not like he's part of your combat team." Vrexia crossed her arms, towering over Ayla. "He doesn't need your distractions," she growled. "He has important work to do." Jack stood frozen, unsure of what to say. He watched as the two alien women seemed to size each other up. He could feel the tension between them, and it made him incredibly uncomfortable. Before things could escalate further, another alien girl entered the room. This one was Tala, a technician with bright green skin and glowing orange eyes. She wasn't as tall as Vrexia or as graceful as Ayla, but she had a sharp, curious look in her eyes. Tala walked right up to Jack, completely ignoring the other two. "Jack, I was wondering if you could help me fix something in the engine room," she said, flashing him a smile. "You seem like the kind of guy who's good with his hands." Jack opened his mouth to respond, but Ayla cut him off. "He's busy right now," she said, stepping closer to Jack, her hand brushing his arm. "Maybe later." Tala frowned, glancing at Ayla and Vrexia. It seems like everyone wants a piece of Jack today. Jack's heart raced as all three women stared at each other, tension filling the room. He didn't know what to do. Why were these powerful, beautiful aliens all acting like this around him? Maybe I should just get back to work," Jack muttered, gripping his mop. But the alien girls weren't letting him go so easily. They were all competing for his attention now, and Jack had no idea how to handle it. The secret behind Jack's attraction. Jack Walker had no idea what was happening. For weeks, he had been trying to do his job as a janitor on the Celestial Voyager, but the alien girls on the ship wouldn't leave him alone. Ayla, Vrexia, and even Tala were acting like he was the most interesting person in the galaxy. It didn't make sense. He was just a human, doing a simple job, yet they all seemed drawn to him. One day, while Jack was cleaning the ship's laboratory, he bumped into Dr. Zellor, the ship's head scientist. Zellor was an alien with smooth green scales and sharp, glowing yellow eyes. He was always studying something, always busy with some experiment or research. Today, though, Zellor seemed to be focused on Jack. "Human," Zellor said, his voice calm and precise. "I've been meaning to speak with you." Jack stopped wiping the counter and turned to face the scientist. "Me? Why?" Zellor stepped closer, holding a strange device in his hands that looked like a scanner. "You've caused quite a stir among the female crew members. I've noticed the increased attention you've been receiving." Jack sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "Yeah, about that. I don't know what's going on. They're all acting strange around me." Zellor gave him a small, almost amused smile. "It's not their fault. It's something about you, something unique to humans. I believe I've discovered the reason." Jack raised an eyebrow. "The reason? What are you talking about?" Zellor activated the scanner, waving it over Jack's body. The device beeped and hummed as it collected data. "You see, humans produce a set of pheromones, chemicals that can affect the behavior of others. In your case, these pheromones are particularly powerful to certain alien species." Jack stared at him, not fully understanding. "Pheromones. So, what it's like? I smell good to them." Zellor chuckled softly, a rare sound for the usually serious scientist. "In simple terms, yes, but it's much more than that. Your pheromones have a strong effect on the female members of the crew, especially those from species that are highly sensitive to chemical signals." Jack felt his face flush with embarrassment. "So that's why they're all acting so interested." Zellor nodded. "Exactly. They are drawn to you in a way that even they don't fully understand. Their attraction is beyond their control, influenced by your natural human biology." Jack leaned against the counter, feeling overwhelmed. This was why Ayla kept flirting with him, why Vrexia watched him so closely, and why Tala wanted his attention. It wasn't because they actually liked him. It was because of some weird biological reaction. "Well, great," Jack muttered. "So what am I supposed to do now? I can't go around causing all this chaos just because of some pheromones." Zellor tapped his chin thoughtfully. "There are ways to block or reduce the effect, but it will take time to develop the right solution. Until then, you'll have to be careful around the crew." Jack sighed, realizing that his life had just gotten even more complicated. It wasn't his charm or personality that was making the alien girls crazy. It was something he couldn't even control. The Galactic Council sends a visitor. Jack Walker was still processing what Dr. Zellor had told him about his pheromones. It explained so much, but it didn't make his life any easier. The alien women on the celestial Voyager were constantly competing for his attention, and Jack didn't know how much longer he could handle the strange tension. To make matters worse, rumors had spread throughout the ship. And now, it seemed like everyone was talking about the human janitor, who had become so popular with the female crew. Just when Jack thought things couldn't get more complicated, a message arrived from the Galactic Council. The Council, made up of the most powerful alien races, had heard about Jack's unusual situation. They were sending a special visitor to investigate. Jack stood in the ship's docking bay, nervously waiting for the Council's representative to arrive. Captain Ralcor, the tall, blue-skinned leader of the ship, stood next to him. The captain had been surprisingly calm about the whole situation, but Jack could tell he was worried. "This visitor is from the highest level of the Council," Captain Ralcor explained, his deep voice echoing in the docking bay. "It's a big deal. Be respectful and answer any questions they ask. The Council wants to understand why you're causing so much interest." Jack nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. He wasn't sure why the Council cared about him. He was just a janitor, after all. But now, he was at the center of some galactic mystery, and that made him more nervous than ever. The doors to the docking bay slid open with a hiss, and a tall, regal figure stepped inside. The visitor was a woman. At least, Jack thought she was. Her skin was silver and shimmered like metal, and she wore a flowing white robe with intricate patterns woven into it. Her eyes glowed faintly, and she moved with an air of authority. "This is Counselor Lyra," Captain Ralcor said, bowing slightly. "She speaks for the Galactic Council." Jack swallowed hard as Counselor Lyra approached. She didn't look like any of the other aliens on the ship. There was something about her that felt otherworldly, even in a galaxy filled with strange creatures. "Human," Counselor Lyra said, her voice calm but powerful. "You are Jack Walker, correct?" "Yes," Jack replied, trying to stand up straight. "That's me." Lyra studied him for a moment, her glowing eyes seeming to pierce right through him. "The Galactic Council has heard of your unique situation," she said. "We are very interested in understanding why your presence is having such an effect on the crew of this ship." Jack shifted nervously. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. It's something to do with human pheromones, according to Dr. Zedler." Lyra nodded. "Yes, we are aware of the doctor's findings. However, this situation is delicate. The Council wishes to ensure that there is no danger to the harmony of our allied species." Jack felt a chill run down his spine. "Danger? I don't want to cause any problems." Lyra's expression softened slightly. "We do not believe you mean any harm, but your presence here is affecting the crew in ways that cannot be ignored. We will continue to monitor the situation closely." With that, Counselor Lyra turned and left the docking bay, leaving Jack standing there with more questions than answers. It seemed like his problems were only just beginning. The crew begins to divide. Jack Walker had hoped that after the visit from Counselor Lyra, things would calm down on the celestial Voyager. Unfortunately, the opposite happened. Ever since the Council got involved, the tension on the ship only seemed to grow. What had started as a strange fascination with Jack among the female crew members was now turning into something far worse: divisions within the crew. The first signs of trouble began when Jack noticed that Ayla and Phryxia, who had been competing for his attention, started forming small groups. Ayla, with her charming and flirtatious ways, had the support of several other officers who admired her beauty and grace. Phryxia, on the other hand, had her own followers, those who respected her strength and no-nonsense attitude. It didn't take long for the rest of the crew to pick sides. One day, Jack was cleaning the ship's recreation room when he overheard a heated argument between two crew members. Rylos, a green-skinned navigator who was on Ayla's side, was angrily confronting Ketra, a fierce engineer who supported Phryxia. "This is getting ridiculous," Rylos snapped. "Ayla has shown more kindness to Jack than anyone else. She clearly deserves his attention. Ketra crossed her arms, her dark purple eyes narrowing. Kindness. Ayla flirts with him like it's a game. Vrexia respects Jack's strength. She's the one who should be with him. Jack, standing awkwardly with his mop in hand, felt his stomach sink. He didn't want to be the cause of these arguments. He just wanted to do his job and survive this strange situation. But it was clear that things were spiraling out of control. As the days went by, the crew's divisions deepened. It wasn't just about Ayla and Vrexia anymore. The tension spread throughout the entire ship. People who had been friends before were now turning on each other, all because of their opinions on who should be closer to Jack. Some of the alien women who hadn't shown interest in Jack before were now getting involved, each one trying to prove why their side was right. Captain Ralcor called a meeting to address the growing conflict. Jack stood nervously in the back of the room, watching as the crew gathered, clearly divided into two groups. The captain's voice boomed over the chatter. "This division must end," Captain Ralcor said firmly. "We are a united crew, and this petty rivalry over one person, over Jack, will destroy the harmony of this ship." Jack cringed as all eyes turned to him. He hadn't asked for this attention, but now it seemed like he was the center of the ship's problems. "Ayla, Vrexia," the captain continued, looking at the two women who stood on opposite sides of the room. "This conflict between your supporters must stop. We are here to serve the Galactic Council, not fight over personal matters." Ayla gave Vrexia a cold smile. "It's not my fault that some people can't handle a little competition." Vrexia clenched her fists but said nothing. As the meeting ended, Jack realized something important. The crew was no longer functioning as a team. And he was at the heart of it all.